Hello, everybody. Welcome into our latest live video. Today, it is the 1st of May, Thursday, 2025, and we've got a great and special show for you today. As fellow computer technician with over 3 decades in the industry, very similar to myself, who is also a YouTube content creator, very similar to myself, my guest today is me. No, wait, that's not right. My guest today from Live Windows Training with Doug Betts, it's Doug Betts. Let's see. Let's bring Doug to the stage. There he is. Welcome in, Doug.
Hello. Okay. Well, this surprised me on a couple of levels.
Okay.
I am streaming on my channel. I thought I had to do it from my OBS. So
no. StreamYard takes care of it.
Of course. I didn't.
That's all right. We're running a little experiment for people who don't understand that reference. With StreamYard now, there's a new option to let my guest live stream this stream that I'm live streaming to their own channel. And we've never used that feature before and just required me to check a box. I don't know how else it works, but I think StreamYard probably walked you through it. And then if you were to try and also stream from your OBS at the same time to your same channel, that would explain a lot of glitching. That's why we started a little late.
Well, I don't.
Let's go with it.
I don't know. We'll say, well, okay, good enough.
How have you been, Doug?
Well, I was okay. I got a little bit of a problem right now. See, as I was preparing for the show, I was cleaning up my desk from my show this morning, and I got a little problem with the stuff I was cleaning up. I kind of got my thumb and my forefinger stuck together. And people who saw that show might be able to deduce, what happened. So I thought I might be able to just kind of pry it apart. And since we're kind of, do unrehearsed and little planning to live streams, I figured maybe that would be a fun thing to do live. All right, just kidding.
I was hoping you were kidding. I got next.
You're next. You're gonna do another.
Pass the glue.
Okay.
That looked like fun. I want to try it.
Yeah, I was dealing with. Oh yeah, I was a little bit. Nobody came up with the joke about me sniffing that epoxy this morning.
That's because it's not funny, and we got to talk to you and get you some help.
Oh, well, I do have an appointment with a therapist, so
it's time for an intervention.
I'm going to move this microphone because this is not my normal position. Okay.
Make yourself comfortable.
We're good. Ready to go.
Now, for some of you who don't know who you are, tell us a little about yourself, would you?
Well, sure. My name is Joe Klondike, and I'm a truck driver.
I think we're speaking to a different Doug. I think this is Doug.
There are many of them. Okay, no, Doug Betts. My channel is Live Windows Training -Doug Betts. Or with Doug Betts, anything you want. And let's see, I've been in the computer business for some number of years or decades. And my main focus in my business is to support small businesses and their computer needs. And that's kept me gainfully employed by myself since 1992. And before that, I worked for a few years for a couple of other companies. And currently the thrust of my channel, the aim of my channel is to help people with their Windows computing issues during live streams. So people can email me questions, or they can put questions as comments on any of my videos. And myself in the chat room will take our best stabs at trying to help or find an answer or move the project along, even if it takes multiple days. That's the short blurb.
And that means that if you're watching live, and please join us in the chat room if you're not joining us, because the show is a lot more fun when you interact with us. Bring your computer questions, your things that puzzle you or baffle you with tech. And between Doug and myself and a very well-informed chat room, I'm sure we can either find you an answer or point you in the direction to your answer. And I can't tell you, honestly, how much more fun the shows are for me and probably for Doug when we get that interaction. And I know the viewers enjoy it a lot more than those who just passively watch. So it's on you if you want to have a good time. hop on into the chat room, say hello. And of course, if you do have a question, this is the time to ask. And to kick us off, Doug, I saw your show earlier today, and you're working on a couple of things. Why don't you keep us informed of people who aren't watching your channel, what they missed today?
Oh, you're going to ask me to recount what I did this morning? Oh my gosh, that's so long ago.
I know, but you haven't slept since then, so it should still be in there somewhere.
Oh, but I wanted to. This is actually my 4th video session, live session today.
Wait, did you say 4?
4. This is my 4th. Started at 4:30 a.m. this morning, then my show, then a online video session with my doctor, and now you're number 4.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'll write you a prescription at the end of this one.
Yeah, like a hammer against the side of the head would work. This morning, let's see. I did epoxied this metal tab onto this keyboard for a Microsoft Surface Laptop 3 that snaps the back end down into place. This keyboard and this laptop is the laptop that a person in the chat room suggested that I buy as a parts-only laptop in order to provide a replacement keyboard for my client. The person that was making that suggestion in the chat room had a very similar name. His name was also Carey Holzman.
Well, that guy sounds like a smart guy.
Yeah, worked out. Yeah, I got that computer running, and it's probably going to go to my daughter.
Really?
Yeah, because my client decided that she was not okay with using a keyboard that has wear marks from somebody else.
Oh, well,
she's just a little grossed out by that.
That's all right.
She can afford a new computer. When we went down this path, it was because we thought we could buy the full C panel, and it was a quick, easy replacement. But the C panels were no longer available new from Microsoft, and so we wound up getting, my client actually found just the keyboard portion without the rest of this panel, just the keyboard portion. Well, it turns out that in order to replace that, you got to peel off all this adhesive, and then there's about 120 plastic rivets that you would have to grind off with a Dremel tool, then put the new keyboard down, and then use a soldering iron with zip ties instead of solder to solder plastic to plastic to hold that on. And when I saw it, I said, no way, no. I'm not taking a soldering iron right near that circuit board, and the amount of time that would take. No, craziness.
Yeah, like little plastic rivets.
Yeah. They're actually molded into the C panel. Of course, they're not rivets. They're manufactured, molded into that part. But
so the reason I recommended the parts, the donor machine, let's call it, was I implied, because this is the world I live in, your customer was not replacing something for budget concerns. They don't have any money. So, okay, this will be the cheapest way we can make that work. But then if they say, well, it's got other people's fingers on it, they clearly have money that they can.
They do.
You know what I mean? Like beggars can't be choosers kind of a thing. They could be grateful we could replace this without the cost of a full new one. If they could afford a full new one from the beginning, just wasted a lot of your time.
Yeah, but it was
a bit experience.
It was a bit of an adventure. This is a long-term, outstanding client to me. And when I ordered that parts-only laptop, I ordered that during the show when you provided that link. And I knew in the back of my mind, if I wind up buying this myself, I'm okay with that for this client.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of money. And I heard you say also that you might be able to even fix it. Maybe it just needed an OS or a drive.
Well, that's what it is. It is fixed. It is working.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah. So
you might consider doing this for a living. You seem pretty good at it.
Well, I kind of thought about, offering to the audience, hey, if you want to go looking for some other parts only laptops that might be repairable, I might buy them. But yeah, no, I got better. I got bigger fish to fry. I got better
Yeah,
things to do with my show.
I gotcha. And then you were also talking about some networking issue with cameras.
Oh yes, that's an issue that I have talked with my audience about a few times, and that is I have 3 clients that are under an umbrella company that manages all 3 of those separate businesses. So it's actually 4 businesses. Each one of them is a client to me. And the management company doesn't have video surveillance, but the other 3 do. And these are all government funded housing buildings, multi-story buildings for handicapped and elderly. You have to be below a certain income to qualify to live in one of these places. Well, they have security cameras all through the place. Well, the NVR servers that monitor and record the videos, they communicate with the cameras over a separate IP network than the office does. So that network does not have communications to the internet. And the problem is that the hard drive in that computer went bad a while back, and I replaced it. That computer was not under my purview. That computer was under management of the surveillance camera company. Well, turned out they were really expensive to do anything, and they really weren't getting the job done for my client. My client said, "Can you just take care of this for us? We're tired of dealing with them. They're just not getting the job done." So I said, sure. So I talked with the surveillance company. They were fine with me taking over that computer. So I replaced the drive, reinstalled the software from scratch, and got it up and running. Then I had to get their assistance with it because the configuration of it was a little bit funky. And what I came to realize over time, and I kind of have a notion about this beforehand, is the computers that they put into service there, they had done whatever tweaking that they did to prevent them from getting Windows updates. So they had been many years without Windows updates. And I think somehow this, and this is an obsolete version of the surveillance software that they're using. Now, when I replaced the drive, installed Windows from scratch, Windows 11, installed their software, now we got current security, computer, and it's not getting along well with the cameras. So anytime that computer restarts, that re-enables the firewall, and this alternate network is on a public network. I was unable to switch it to private network until one of the audience members, Ran Israel specifically, said that if I put in the IP address of the only other computer that's on that network as the gateway address, that then I would be able to choose private. So I did that. However, still only 4 cameras would come up. 12 cameras failed to come up. There's something about the firewall settings, even though I think I have them all right according to the manual, that prevents that from coming up. So the only way I can get them to work is to turn off the firewall for the public network after the computer's been restarted. Now, anytime that computer restarts, I'm going to have to connect remotely and do that again, which I can do. Not a big deal, but I'd rather find the right fix for it.
But Gowden from Acronis, who solves a lot of technical issues, also knows things outside of Acronis. He was asking if this is Hike Vision software on the camera. Are they just IP cameras?
They are IP cameras, yes.
So they're not CCTV cameras being converted in a box into, like, I'm trying to gauge how old they are.
No, they're not. Some of them are Pelco. There's a couple other brands involved. They were high price tag cameras. They are, securely installed in walls and ceilings and such. And I was just taking a look to see if I'll be able to tell you the brand or the manufacturer of the software. Milestone X Protect is the NVR software.
Milestone.
Yeah, and I have the manual for it.
What'd you say the other words were?
X Protect, XPROTECT.
VMS. Oh, hold on. Milestone Systems. I see.
Yeah,
There it is.
milestonesys.com.
I typed EX. It's just the letter X. Protect. I see.
Now, the local vendor that sold the system to them, they manage and service and repair dozens of different manufacturer software and hardware. So as I was talking with them about it, they were helpful as far as their attitude was concerned, but it was clear that they did not know the system very deeply.
I just want to pull up that site while we're talking about it. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do that. This gets really confusing.
Well, I can put in a link in your chat. How about that?
Well, I'll just, how can I do this? I'll do it this way. It just gives people a little behind the scenes look here. We'll go to this button and then this button, I think. Is that working?
I see create safer spaces with Milestone X Protect. Yeah.
So that's the software there then.
Yeah, but I don't think you're going to find much useful there because I think that's probably a public facing sales.
Oh, I was just doing it for point of reference, like
Oh, okay.
step one, kind of identifying that's the right software you're working with.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat might be familiar with it. They might say, oh yeah, I've used this before, da, 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 da. It could happen.
Yeah.
All right, let me pop back over to StreamYard and then go back over to, wait. I am still getting used to StreamYard here.
The red dot. Oh.
The red dot, is that the one?
Well, one of those tabs had a red dot. I think that's where you would get to your StreamYard tab. Had a dot inside a red circle on your browser tab.
I think I got there.
I think you did.
There we go.
Yeah, you did.
All right, let's see what we have going on in the chat. If you guys have any questions for us, please let us know in the chat. Right now, today, we're live. We'll be live until, we're going until 3 o'clock today, Doug, is that the plan?
Yes.
Right on. Lana Dro says hello. Mortant joining us says hello. There's Elijah 52 Dickens joining us saying hello. And Andy Kane joins us, says hello. Our friend Mark Gaines, did I say that already? Joining us from Northern Ireland says hello. Ask your computer guy. That is Scott Merrill. Yeah.
Hello, Scott.
And Begowden from Acronis saying hello. We got a star-studded show.
Are you calling us studs? Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, was that too obvious? I didn't have to say it out loud.
Yeah, I'm a Doug.
Don't be such a Doug. Let's see. John Williams saying hello. There's Mark Leibowitz. Mark, of course, runs his own computer repair shop out of the Chicago area there in Illinois. There's no noise in Illinois. Charlie Purdy says hello in the chat. Good to see you, Charlie. Our friend Buster, we want to give him a shout out and say hello. He might be catching us later. I don't see him in there right now. And Mortant says hello. And I'm looking to see if we missed any questions. Jack Kogelmus joins us, says hello to you, Doug. How does your bot work? I guess he's referring to your chat bot.
Yeah, my streamer bot and speaker bot, that's not going to be functioning on this stream because I have OBS closed, exited.
That's just some kind of an add-in from a third party into OBS? Is that what...
Yeah, I'm close enough.
Close enough. All right. Well, there's your explanation. That's as far as Doug's going to expose that.
No, there's nothing secretive about it. It's not an add-in in OBS. It's an outside program. It connects to my YouTube channel,
Oh,
and it can take actions. It is a bot, but it does not directly interact with OBS.
I see. I made an assumption and you flipped it on me.
Yeah.
That's what I get. So it's a download from a third party. It's free?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I paid for it. I think it's a donation type operation.
Cool. All right.
And that's where my points system runs from.
Thomas Mac T says hello, joining us from St. Petersburg, Florida. And Charles Keeler joining us from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Let's see. John Williams is just talking to Scott in the chat room, says he installed an AMD GPU on an AMD platform. Works really good. Got some other driver updates for the system that is for sale. How's business? My Bluetooth speaker just shut off. How's business been for you, Doug? Things have really slowed down for me over here. I think it's going to pick back up for me. There goes the other one. That's going to, I think, and I hope, as we approach the end of Windows 10, things are going to pick up sort of, you know, if it wasn't for the last minute, nothing ever gets done kind of a thing. And I am both enjoying the break, but also worried it won't start back up again. How about you? Have you noticed any difference in the frequency of calls?
Frequency of calls, no. But as far as my opportunity to work, if I had another 40 hours of work time available to me in a week, I could fill it. Just because of the regular clients I have that I've been telling them for a couple of years, we're going to have to replace your computers. They're all ready for it, and I've got computers sitting on my desk there and out in the other room that are just waiting for me to get to them to deploy them to the offices. So I've actually got more than I'm getting around to, but this hair color is just preventing me from working as aggressively and long, active, kicking butt hours as I did when I was younger. So it's not getting done all that quick.
I'm just glad I have some left.
Yeah.
We'll see that next year. Remember what it used to look like. Yeah, it's overrated. You know, speaking of hair being overrated, joining us in the chat room, another YouTube celebrity, another technician working as a content creator. Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-Tos says hello. I really enjoy the speed with which I'm going to just have a little fun. When he introduces his videos, I don't even know if I can do it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spider-Man Group. It's like, wait, what? He gets it out of the way, and then he talks slower after that. And it tickles me every time. Never stop doing that. Hello, everyone. This is Mike from Mike's Reviews. But Mike is in England, and he does very similar things that you and I do, Doug, as well as Scott, Ask Your Computer Guy. Although Mike will do a lot more computer building and, well, quite frankly, unboxing, right in the title. And I've invited them both. If they want to pop in and join us to say hello to us, they have the links to come in and join us. If they're more than welcome, or they can hang out in the chat, whatever they're most comfortable with. And I'm just delighted to see what a star-studded turnout this continues to be with all these cameos. Not to take the wind out of your sails, Doug. I mean, you are, of course, our number one guest.
Well, today.
Forever, always. And I only tell that to you.
Oh, you do? Yeah, so we won't tell anyone else.
Nobody else. That is a reserved spot for you.
Did we just say that over live stream? Ooh. Oh, Cronus is here. Or did you already?
Here he is. He says, I have done that intro 1,000 times now, and I'm getting good at it. I just need to focus on the video content now. When he says it, it's like one long word. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mike Unboxing Reviews and How to. It's all one word with no spaces. It's great. I love it. Never change. I'm like, geez, I hope the whole show he's not talking like that. I thought I talked quickly. Left me in the dust. Yeah. Anyway, I'm poking. You're fantastic, Mike. Love your stuff. Don't change. I love it.
Thank you.
And
You're talking to him. You're talking
if
to
you
Mike.
guys, if you guys haven't checked out Mike's unboxing reviews and how to, if you guys have not checked out Ask Your Computer Guy, and of course, if you guys have not checked out Live Windows Training with Doug Betts, you're missing out because they make good enough content. Let me put it to you this way. If you're wondering, if you like my stuff and you wonder who I watch, I'll constantly complain about these enthusiasts and it's not complaining. It's just there's a lot of enthusiasts in the tech arena here on YouTube. And there's not a good balance, from my opinion, on the business side, on the practical side. And so all of these gentlemen represent, in my opinion and in my values, similar values to me about the practical side, coming from a workplace regarding responsibility and liability. And there's more riding on it than just a YouTube channel. They're running businesses. So there's just a handful of channels like that on YouTube. And of those, these are my favorites. So I think if I like them, you'll like them too. And you probably already know who they are, quite frankly. But if you don't, well, you're doing your both of you a disservice by not checking them out. We have all the links for everybody in our video notes. And speaking of the video notes, I found a deal. I was made aware of a deal today, Doug. This is not a big sale or anything. I'm not turning this into a commercial. I just want you to know that you can pick up a portable DVD, CD reader writer that goes in USB. How much do you think that should sell for? Just
$25.
Agreed. What if I told you it was $9.20?
That's impressive.
And if you want to know how to take advantage of that deal, the video notes are the link. There's a coupon code and I think a promo code. And when you put those two in today at Amazon, because it's already like on sale for $18 or something, but then you add the coupon and then you add the promo code and it comes down to $9.20 with free shipping for a CD, DVD, external USB reader writer. That's crazy. I can't eat at Arby's for $9.20. So whenever that sale ends, I don't know. Whenever it sells out, I don't know. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, I'm looking in your video description. I'm not finding that.
No? Should be in there. Let me see. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to go to my YouTube channel, and then I'm going to click right underneath where it says show more. And, oh, something's not right in here. Well, I will have Mara add that. Why is this? Am I even on my channel or am I on your channel, Doug? I'm on your channel. That's the first time. Wow. That's the first time anybody's live streamed my live stream. And now YouTube recommended you to me instead of recommending me to me. So I thought that was me. I thought that was mine. All right, let me go to the right one. How about that? Start there. I'll just go over here to.
Scott says that's a ridiculous price for an external DVD reader.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the first thing. If I
deal alert. Okay.
Deal alert. Yeah. The Lauren Sori. I don't know who that is. USB 3.0 DVD CD reader writer in black. There's a shortcut URL, and then it says it's there's a promo code. So when it's $18.39, minus a 50% off when you enter promo code F9445087 at checkout. The price becomes $9.19. Shipping is free with Prime on orders of $35 or more. And then there's the Amazon link below. Now, yeah, that Amazon link below, I'll make a commission on that. Can you imagine? I am going to be vacationing in Hawaii soon on the commission on $9.19. So clearly I'm not in this for the money, because that commission is probably about 3 cents if I'm lucky. So don't worry about that. There's no hidden.
I see.
End.
I think Mara just added it back in, so I'm not crazy. She's got a chat comment. I think she said StreamYard overrode what she put in originally.
Oh,
I was thinking that might be the case.
And then there's Mike's unboxing reviews and how-to link, Ask Your Computer Guys link, and Doug Betts' link in the chat room as well. I mean, in the video notes.
Ah, yes, I see those now.
Okay.
Good. I was questioning my sanity when you found it and I didn't see it. Well.
Uh-oh. He says the deal has expired already.
Well, when I go to my Amazon, when I go to that link, it's showing $9.20 without any coupon codes.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Is that Amazon?
I'm signed into my Amazon account.
But are you looking at Amazon, or did it take you to the Slick Deals URL?
Well, let me check. Oh, you're right. Yeah,
so
no,
Slick Deals
is
Deals. What alerted me to the deal, and then the Slick Deals will have a link.
Oh, visit Amazon button. I see that now. So on Amazon, it's $18.39, and then I guess you have to apply the code.
Yeah, at checkout, there's that promo code.
Oh, and the Amazon page has redeem 30% promo code right on that listing. If I click on that redeem,
then there's a 30% there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just added that to my cart to see how it shows up. Oops.
John Downey said the problem with an external DVD reader writer is that when you need it, you can't find it. That's why you buy two.
Well, with these mini computers, when my client needs a DVD writer or reader, whatever, it pretty much stays permanently on their desk.
I like to encourage the offices to get two, put one in the supply closet, and the other one just pass around as needed, right? If they have multiple employees, they can just share one. And if somebody didn't put it back or they can't find it, go to the supply closet. And then eventually the other one will turn up. And if not, we'll just order another one, even at full price, $20, $25. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I'm having that problem with more than just DVD and CD writers. I can't find anything. So I try to put it all in one place, but then there's a big pile and I don't know where it is in the pile.
Well, based on your conversation with Scott on Tuesday, I went looking around for label printers. I don't care too much for the one that he's using, and I found one that I'm kind of excited about. So I ordered it, and it's coming because I wanted a label printer that I could do voice to text rather than typing on one of those keyboards, and I found it.
They make such a thing?
Yep.
What about misspellings or misunderstandings?
Well, of course you would correct it if that's the case. You can edit it.
So you're editing it on a computer screen, or is the whole thing portable that you could?
Editing it on a cell phone. The voice dictation on your cell phone, an app that connects Bluetooth to the label printer, and so make the label that way. And the other thing that it has that I wanted was very small fonts so that I could create labels for these flash drives.
So you couldn't type that. You had to say those two words. That's I'm just trying to understand how long.
There's other applications. There's other applications that I want label printers for. For that, I would be typing though.
Okay, all right.
Because that's not something I can pronounce anyway.
Well, that could be a problem too. Yeah. Like this is my GNU. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't even know such a thing existed with
oh, I love it so much, and it's so inexpensive. I said, oh, I got to do this.
so you already got it, or
I ordered it. It's let's see, and I paid a little bit higher price to get the one that's black,
yeah,
and it's $14.24.
yeah, it's nothing.
It's just nothing. I'm not gonna.
But the labels themselves, $27.
I don't know. I don't know.
You know how it is with printer ink, you know. Let's see, David Herzog saying hello to everybody. Welcome in. And there's Steve Merkur. Photo Mix Media says Carey does not compute. Yeah, well, that's par for the course. And let's see, Mark Baggett saying hello to everybody. Arnold says men want two of everything. Well, you say that like it's a bad thing. Let's see. Peter VZ joining us from the Netherlands says hello. So I've been playing around with some new toys here. I found this keyboard from a company called Gravistar, and I like the battle damaged, worn look that it has, and these little feet that you can, flatten the keyboard out if you want to. And the little matching mouse, which I think weighs 54 grams. It's almost like a feather. I'm not sure if I like that or not. And then I got the matching well, they're not matching. They're Bluetooth speakers. They're paint color matches, but the speakers are not compatible with each other. So if I want a left and a right, I have to buy another one. And then the keyboard and the mouse do not share a dongle, which upsets me because I thought I could pair them, but I cannot. But I love how different they are. And it just so happened that I had built this Thermaltake Series 350, I think is what it's called. And it's pretty darn close to the color. And I thought, well, that's different. I like to do things that are different. For the channel, I wouldn't do this for customers, but just for fun. What do you think?
I like it. I've been admiring that for the last few days when you've had that set up on your desk. I like the appearance of it all.
It's different.
Yeah. When you were fussing around with trying to pair those two speakers, I was thinking that right off the bat because I thought those are not the same model. They're not going to be the same Bluetooth name.
I would just think the circuitry inside would be the same. Who cares if they're different on the outside? That was my logic.
That would have been nice if they had designed it that way, but
yeah, that's how I would have done it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't turn this bad boy on, did I? I like getting the lights on this too. That adds to the effect. And that's one of those Project Zero motherboards with all the cabling in the back.
Right. Oh, and the flames. I'm liking the flames on that.
Yeah, I thought it's funny to put flames on the cooler.
Right.
And Mike's unboxing, I'm jealous because he works a lot with Thermaltake in the UK. They keep sending him stuff, and I keep spending my money on Thermaltake stuff. So Thermaltake, like if I'm thinking about what computer cases I want to show behind me that I've done here on the channel to just have as a set.
Yeah.
I've got a turquoise case, the Tower 300, Thermaltake. I've got the Apache helicopter, very unique looking case, Thermaltake. I've got this yellow, it's the only yellow computer I have, Thermaltake. And I'm thinking, if I do that, if I put those all on display with the colors and designs, and they're all Thermaltake, people are going to think I'm getting paid. And I don't mind if I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to think I'm getting paid if I'm not getting paid. So now I'm having second thoughts that I don't want to have too much of one company's product behind me. But I thought it'd be cool to have, turquoise, black, and this yellow. And those are the only ones I have that aren't white or black, basically. Every computer I've got is white or black. So I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. But, kudos to Thermaltake for putting themselves in that position that when I'm thinking about what's going to look good behind me, and I think of all the little, like the different pastels, right. That's pretty much just them.
I would favor do what looks good for your show. Don't worry about what people think.
Well, I just want to get, all I'm saying is if I'm given thermal take day after day, if it's always behind me and they're getting that kind of exposure, and viewers are like, hey, what's that blue one behind you? Or what's that yellow one?
Yeah.
They're getting a lot of free promotion if I do that. So it's partly that. Not that I have any problem promoting them, but it sure would be nice if I got a little promotion back, if you know what I mean. So we'll see. I'm still trying to figure out, because I've got also the cube, the spaceship,
Right.
and the tube, and the Xenos build. So that would be like 7 computers behind me, and there's no way all 7 are gonna line up from here to here, but I'll cross that bridge.
You and Scott got into some subjects on Tuesday that you had a different take on. So I wanted to offer for the audience to ask my take on any of those subjects, because I was listening to all that and I was thinking just about everyone, I got a different take on that. Yeah, I got a different take on that.
Well, do any come to mind? Because I would love to hear your take on any of the previous things that Scott and I spoke about. Like, what comes to mind?
Remember.
Well, there was the question regarding putting your data on a separate partition.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I have certain circumstances where I'll do that. And I also have a different reason for partitioning a drive in certain circumstances. But for the basic normal end user, I would not do that. For my own computers here, I like to do that because I've got so much other content that if I come across the need to want to restore the C drive, I'd rather have that be small, so that it'll restore quickly, because that's a much quicker, easier thing to do for troubleshooting purposes. But I've got, like, I think as it is, my Big Beast backup, even though I have other drives where I store stuff, I think the Big Beast backup is like 325 gigabytes. So that's pretty large. Now, this Surface laptop that I restored during the live stream, it takes 1 minute and 5 seconds to do a full C drive restore on it, because it's small. If somebody's got a lot of excess content, that's going to make the C drive image backup be so large that it's a nuisance to do a restore, then I would put them off on a separate drive. In the other issue that I do for partitioning is, quite often I will partition even as small as a 512 gigabyte drive, split it almost in half, the C drive a little bit larger than the rest. The second partition is for image backups. And a lot of people are going to jump up and down, get all excited. No, that's not valid. In certain circumstances, the circumstances are when the C drive doesn't actually store data. The data is stored on a server or somewhere else, and the C drive is probably never going to exceed probably 70 gigabytes of space in use anyway. The reason why I like doing an image backup to a second partition, even on the same drive, is because I'm not buying an extra drive for the computer. I can install a obsolete but still free version of Macrium Reflect and schedule it to do automatic image backups. Now, if that computer runs into a problem, I can remotely quickly do a restore to the last image backup, which is always the night before. It's just so quick and easy to do, instantaneous. I don't like using external USB drives because I had too many times when I go to either check up on it or I go to do a restore, I find out, oops, that drive hasn't been working for a while. Because maybe it's as simple as the USB needs to be disconnected and reconnected, or somebody hit a power switch, or a cable came loose. I've had too many times when that failure has caused a problem. I've never, ever had the occasion where I couldn't do a restore because of the failed storage drive. Now, again, when there's data involved that you care about, that's not a sufficient backup. But there is that certain use case scenario where I do that quite often.
You know what it reminds me of is when you get like an HP or a Dell computer, and they'll have a backup partition a recovery partition. It sounds
Yeah.
like the Doug Betts version of a recovery partition.
Yeah, that's the original. That's the original installation. That's not going to be doing a continuous, refreshing of that image.
Yeah, not an exact side by side, but that's what I'm thinking of. Like that's where my baseline goes to reference. Let's see. Begowden says, I agree with Doug. My C drive usually does not go over 300 gig in size, and I use a second drive as primary backup storage. The Samsung that I bought from Carey's promo is still rocking. I'm not sure which one he's talking about, but if it's an external, or an internal Samsung SSD, they've been really good with me. I don't think I've had a bad Samsung drive yet of any kind, SATA, NVMe, any. But there you go. And ask your computer guy. Scott says he says it basically is. Whoops, what am I doing over here? Get out of that. There's another comment in here I wanted to read aloud. The important thing, and I think this is the part that's the most important, isn't so much how you make your backups. It's that you make backups.
Yeah.
And the importance of listening to the details, especially when Doug mentions when it comes to the data, right? That's a separate, like you have the data is backed up separately. Am I understanding correct? Like if something happens to that drive, the drive fails, the drive gets ransomware, the computer gets stolen, yada, yada, yada.
In every case that I'm splitting the drive into partitions, making one drive for image backups, in every one of those cases, if there is a problem, it's a scenario where we're fine with just rebuilding from scratch. We can do that. It's just the image backup in those circumstances is for a quick, convenient way to restore. And I can do that just for troubleshooting a problem. If somebody says, I didn't have this problem yesterday, I have this problem now, I'll do some reasonable effort into repairing it. And if it's resisting my repair efforts, I'll just go ahead and restore the image from last night because all their data is stored elsewhere.
I gotcha. All right. So I do something similar, a little different, but similar. Data is all put on a NAS. So we back up the NAS. I do not back up the workstations because for the amount of time and effort it takes for me to do that, I could just rebuild it in the rare circumstance it needs to be. Because I think, well, I'll just ask, in your experience, what's the most common kind of recovery you have to do? Is it from the cloud? Is it from an external drive? Or is it just a local recovery? Which one is the most common?
Definitely local recovery. It's very rare. In fact, I never have done a restore due to need with Magnus Box. I have many computers that are doing backups nightly to Magnus Box, but those are also have some form of local backups as well. Whether it's attached storage or server or internal storage in the computer, there's always some local backup. So the only occasion that I'm going to need to do a restore from the cloud is the building burns down and everything on site is destroyed. Now I have some clients who we rotate the drives out, where one client I rotate the drives out so that I have a set here. A couple of clients that rotate drives out and they store their backups in safety deposit box, as well as those clients also have Magnus Box, cloud and local. I'll have Magnus Box doing cloud backup, and then it also does a local external drive backup by Magnus Box.
We'll have to talk sometime about Magnus Box. I've heard of it. I've never used it. But what you're describing could very well describe my customers. I do have some customers that bring their own drives in and take them home. I have others that have put that on me. I have a recent discovery that I have found to be quite useful that I've been waiting for a long time, called Tailscale. Are you familiar with it?
No.
So Tailscale is a free open source utility that you can put onto all kinds of sort of Linux-based things like NASes or that little remote KVM thing I was showing. And what it does is it creates a virtual network that is secured between you and another network. So for example, I have a client, and once a month I would go down, drive 30 miles, bring an external drive with me, and I leave an external drive hooked up to the main administrator's computer at all times. It's under the desk, they never see it. And I set a synchronization to synchronize the NAS onto this USB drive that's always connected, the computer's always on, and it's on a schedule. And then I audit it about every 10 or 15 days. I log in and make sure that the update, the synchronization is happening locally. Because usually if there's an emergency call, it's I accidentally deleted a file, you know, we want that immediate recovery. So the local backup is probably the most used. But every 30 days, and this was just what the customer wanted to spend with the risk they were willing to take, we agreed I will drive over, I will unplug that backup drive and pop in another one. And then I'm going to take the one I just unplugged back home. So if anything happens to that building, the oldest backup is 30 days. And then before I leave, I start the synchronization because that hasn't been synchronized in 30 days. And I get in the car, and by the time I get back, I just log back in remotely and I can see it completed. Well, what I've been waiting for, well, first of all, this customer had really slow DSL. They finally got broadband a couple years ago and things are a lot faster. So that's step one. Step two is how can I securely access them without letting anybody else in? Because I don't want outside access to the NAS. The only way I access the NAS, you know, or the way I've been doing it is logging in remotely to one of the desktop computers in the office that has access to the NAS. You following me?
Yeah.
So then a great YouTube channel, Space Rex. I don't know why his name is Space Rex, but he does a bunch of NAS and specifically Synology stuff. And he talked about this thing called Tailscale. Now, other content creators had talked about it, but I don't watch them, so this was the first I'd heard of it. And the idea is you can go to the Synology app store in the NAS and load Tailscale. It's free. And you create a free GitHub account, for example. That's all free. Then I install Tailscale on my computer here and associate that customer's NAS to my computer. Then when I bring up my file synchronization, I can say my source is my customer's computer and my destination is that SSD I've got here. I no longer have to drive back and forth.
Oh, okay.
And it shows up as though I'm on their network. And I can have numerous networks that I can connect to. So I use a program where I have profiles, backup profiles. And I could say, if I wanted to, I haven't done this yet, I could automate this file synchronization called Syncovery. I can automate Syncovery to say my source drive on the left is customer one dot whatever. Okay, we give it a name. And my destination is my NAS under a folder called customer one, and synchronize everything on the left to everything on the right. So files have been deleted, added, or changed over here, mirror it over here, run it at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it just automates the whole thing from their network over the broadband to my network onto my NAS. And now I can move away from even, as far as offsite goes, keeping one of the SSDs. I got plenty of room on my NAS. I can just make a folder, put the customer's stuff in there. The reason I don't is for security. What if I get compromised somehow, some way, and now my customer's data is exposed? So I know when I unplug the drive, you know, and I set it down, nobody's getting in it. So that's still one little bump in the road. I know I could probably encrypt it. I'm just not there yet. And anyway, Tailscale enables you to connect networks together. So if you had a customer who says, we have a satellite office in California and a satellite office in Phoenix, we want them to communicate with each other. How would you do that? Tailscale would do it. It's pretty cool.
Okay. I've done several times. I don't do this on a regular basis with anyone, but I've actually just downloaded the backup image file over the internet, just straight through my remote connection. So I'm questioning myself what difference that makes as far as Tailscale. With Tailscale, you're getting an up to the moment synchronization. But if I'm downloading a backup that was just done the night before, I feel that's fresh enough. So
No. So Tailscale is a little app that sits in my system tray, right?
Yeah.
It says, here are the networks you're connected to. They're
Okay.
idle. They're not doing anything. It's only if I choose to do something. So I can bring up, for example, one of the many variations in how you can use this would be no different than how you're backing up at their network, only not having to go there to do it.
Yeah.
You can do it right from home, connecting your network to their network securely and for free, with the only limitation being your bandwidth. Maybe there's slow upload, or maybe your slow download, or maybe you have a data bandwidth cap that you're worried about if you're moving a lot of data. But other than that, you can determine the frequency or the size or what you want, no differently. Just imagine you and I, Doug's going to say, are you hitting on me? Imagine if you and I could connect our networks.
Yeah.
And I could say, Doug, go to my NAS and go to this drive. Instead of using Google Drive, instead of making it public, I gave you permission to add my network to your Tailscale. And now when you look in the network, you have 2 networks to choose from, or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
To use any, as often or as frequently as you want to. Of course, the bandwidth isn't going to be as fast as a local network, but the access and everything that you do, all your processes, are exactly the same. There's no learning curve.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's free. And the fact that there's an app on the Synology to put the Synology right onto the Tailscale. I mean, you could always back up a Synology to another Synology, right? That's always been a thing. But what if you have a Synology and a QNAP, or I don't know, a Synology and the D drive on your computer, and you want to synchronize them? Tailscale gets it done from different locations. Like if your computer's over here and the NAS is in another country or just down the street, Tailscale doesn't care. And it's going to be slower, but it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same configuration, the same software, everything, nothing changes. It's like it's another drive, like a mapped drive on your computer, which you could also do. It's really, really cool.
Okay, you had mentioned part of this about what if your system gets compromised? Well, what if your system gets compromised? Wouldn't the intruding hacker then have access to your client's network through your computer?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, if my computer has access to anything and somebody breaks into my computer, then, so the way you could adjust that, I believe, is that every time you want to access it, you have to enter a password. I find that annoying. But they would have access then to the client's network. In other words, when you click on, I'm trying to think how you'd do that. You'd have to be pretty clever to get in there and find it. And I don't have any outside ports or services.
It's almost time to pick up your child.
You got company?
No, I forgot all about that. I've got a reminder set up to pick up my grandson on Thursdays, but we switched to Tuesdays. So
the point is, yes, somebody could, if somebody had access into my computer, then they would have access to everything on my computer. I don't turn on encryption and I don't do that stuff. But I also don't have any outside access into the computer to begin with. I don't set that up. I don't use it. Same with NASs. I don't use any of that. There's nothing running on my computer that can get you into my computer that I know of.
That you know of.
Well, that's how they get you, right? You didn't realize. You're like, oh, didn't think of that.
Is there another topic?
Ask your computer guy. Scott wants to know, do you send a notification to the customer of the most recent successful backup, just as usual business practice? I do that. So it depends on how the customer's backup is running, right? And it depends on what the customer wants. I don't want to interrupt the customer's day with nonsense and paperwork that they don't even know what it means. But it depends on the customer. So one customer, for example, I do their backup every Tuesday night. They're the one that brings their drive in from home. They plug it in. And when they go home for the day, I ask them to leave the computer on. I log into the computer and I run Syncovery that's installed on their computer. They don't know what it is. It's just an icon on their desktop. They don't use it. And I say, do a current attended backup so I can watch it from the server to the solid state drive. And I do this a little old school. The solid state drive has a folder called backup in today's date. So the first thing I do is rename that folder to whatever. So this customer has 6 backup drives. They bring a different one in every week and they stack up. So every Tuesday, when they bring the drive in, it's 6 weeks old. So if I were to back up today, it would say March 15th, let's say. I change that to May 1st. Then I edit the profile in the Syncovery software. It takes 2 seconds. Browse to the new directory that I just created, but just renamed it. Click OK, hit the play button, and boom, it starts. And remember, this is all running in their office, and I'm just connected via instant house call in a secure remote session that's unattended, running an attended. The reason it's attended is I want to make sure that some massive deletion isn't about to take place. I want to verify. It tells me, it compares the source to the target. It says, these are the changes. They look normal. I approve it. It's that easy. Then when that's done, this customer is about a gig of data every week. So it's usually 6 gigs. Doesn't take very long over I put a 2.5 gig network in their office. So it all happens locally. And then I open Outlook and I go old school and I type in the customer's, first couple letters of their email address, subject backup. And I say, hi, customer. Backups have been updated tonight. Thank you, Carey. And I send them the email. When they come in on Wednesday morning, they have that email waiting. They have peace of mind knowing that backup has been updated and they can take it home anytime they want to between now and next Tuesday, right? And they'll bring the next one in. I'll plug it in. That way they have an on-site backup and they have 5 backups at home. I don't control their backup at all as far as I don't have any possession of it. But that's what they wanted to do. They're a little more technically minded than a lot of my other customers who just wave their hands and go, you deal with this, I don't want to. How does that compare to what you do?
Quite a bit different. I don't do any manual backups. They're all automated. They're all every day. They might be a full backup once a week or even once a month, and then differential backups and then incremental backups. And all of them send me email confirmations daily. Every morning I've got a list of incoming emails that very quickly I can glance through them all. And if there's any problem, it reports it there. I have, I think, 3 clients who want confirmations themselves. So I have those emails also automatically go to them. So there have been occasions with one client in particular where he has an externally connected USB drive that occasionally it fails, and he's right on top of it. Impressive, because he reaches out to me and say, hey, what's going on here? I'm proud of him. And usually it's something about that USB connected drive has failed. But yeah, I used everything is automated, trust but verify, meaning the emails come through to confirm it. The ones that don't have email notifications are the free versions of the obsolete Mac and Reflect. And again, on those computers, if it misses, if it stops working, we're not sweating it, because we can always rebuild those from scratch, or more likely imaging restoring from an old image, and then the data is stored elsewhere.
Yeah, just having a workstation backup versus a data backup. But then you have some people that have all their data on their workstation, which in business is not good because other employees need access to that data. But home users usually, they put everything on all their eggs in one basket, which I'm not a fan of. I don't do that, and I wouldn't recommend anybody else does it either.
And to that point that you just touched on about them having data on their own computers, quite some time ago, I gave up trying to get all the staff of my clients to stop storing data files on their desktop. And it just goes there. So once Microsoft 365 subscriptions came along and the clients that are on that program, I just have those computers storing everything to that individual's OneDrive so that those files are there. Now, when I talk to them about those files, and usually the conversation takes place when we're going to replace their computers. I have an interview with them as part of my process to find out what they care about on their computers. Because sometimes they'd rather just have their desktop cleaned off and start over fresh. And I find most of the time those files on their desktop are just temporary templates of things that they're going to work on. They open that template and then they store it onto the server. So many times it's not something that they really care about anyway. But just to protect against that occasion where somebody is, doing that, storing something they care about on their desktop, it is in many instances, not always, covered through a OneDrive backup. And the other thing I like about the OneDrive backup is when they're in Microsoft Word, they've been typing on a document a long time, and I get this call, used to get this call saying, oh no, my computer crashed or the power went out, and I had this 17-page, with, like I say, 18-page document. My audience understands why the number 18. 18-page document, and I didn't save it. Well, if OneDrive is active, it is there. And then there's also Microsoft Word will do temporary backups, but if you don't catch those when you relaunch Word, you might be losing those too. So that has saved the day once in a while.
Yeah, then we talk about creating a Microsoft account versus not creating one, and that's absolute customer choice. The only customer I've got anything close to that is they're all like a Gmail, a Google shop with all the Google stuff, which, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But let me ask you this. The other day we had a question. Somebody has, I can't remember who it was. Somebody has a printer, one of them little label printers, and it's also a retina scanner. And they want it 15 feet away from where it's going to plug in via USB. Now, USB cables have a length limitation. And of course, you know me, you know what I'm going to say, move the printer. That cracks me up because it's an easy solution. But they said, well, Doug has cameras and he's got really long extensions. He doesn't seem to have a problem. And I know you talked about your camera setup and USB extensions. Did you have any problem with USB cable length creating any issues for you? And what kind of length of cable did you use?
I have a number of cables that are 35 feet. They range from 25 foot to 35 foot for the extensions. 2 or 3 of the extensions are active extensions, meaning they plug into power. So they actually have a barrel connector, AC adapter connected to them midstream. I had troubles where if I had a camera or other devices acting up, I would switch them around to different USB, we don't call them hubs, what do you call them?
Ports?
Channels, ports, yeah. Different outlets, obviously, but each USB header on the motherboard serves 2
Correct.
USB ports. So if I have 2 devices that are heavy power draws, they don't get along being on the same USB header. So I'll switch them around. And I kind of switched them around randomly until they worked and didn't really track down which ones are connected to which headers. So yeah, I had some futzing around. It wasn't too terrible. You can see this packet of wires cables here.
So they're active. So that was the key, is that you're applying power. You've got something you're plugging into the wall, and some kind of a.
Not for all of them. Not for all of them.
Not for all of them, but I would imagine for the longest runs.
Well, the longest runs, and it also varies depending upon the power draw of the device connected.
Yes, exactly.
So
Interesting.
The Stream Decks I don't think I need those on that. The microphone, it might have active power. The Stream Cam, it's a Type C. It takes more power than the other Logitech 2.0 USB cameras. I have a USB hub up here on the desk that's on an extension, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 USB devices connected to it. So that packet of wires over there includes the HDMI cables for the 3 monitors on Big Bees, the 1 HDMI monitor for Baby Bees, and the the workbench monitor. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 webcams. There's speakers, 3 different mic setups, 2 mic. So 2 Stream Decks. I told you I got a therapist appointment.
I was letting you go. I was going to see how long you were going to keep naming off cables. Holy moly! But let's emphasize here, just to be clear, you didn't just plug it in and it worked, right? You had a little figuring out.
True.
Right, where you're like, why isn't this working? Oh, I need an active cable for this one, but I don't. Yeah. So you only bought the active cable as a response, not as a preventive measure. Is that right?
Correct.
You didn't know you needed it until you needed it.
Correct.
All right, fair enough. But that is this option. So you run your cable, whatever it is, your USB cable to your printer. If it doesn't work, consider getting an active USB cable that provides power.
Yeah.
And you say 35 feet?
Yeah, that's the longest that I have here.
On USB?
Yes.
2 or USB 3?
There's both.
Okay.
And also same length for HDMI.
Yeah, HDMI.
And I just ordered a new, did I do 1 or 2? 35-foot HDMI cables, the thin ones.
Oh, those are so good.
Yeah, because this HDMI cable that I use, and I didn't mention that one, the HDMI cable that I use to connect to a computer that I'm working on the workbench, it's kind of short right now. And I only realized why that was, I think yesterday, when I went out to my box of cables that are in my car and found that I have a 35-foot HDMI in there. I said, well, why aren't I using this one? So I grabbed it and brought it in, and then I realized why I'm not using that one is it is just a fat sucker. So with my cable management devices attached to the walls, it's just too thick. So I figured, I know there's thinner ones because Carey has talked about, I think you have thin HDMI and thin Ethernet. So I actually ordered both of those. So I got some thinner cables coming in. Oh, here's this thick one, because I do have it temporarily connected right now. This is the thick one. See,
throw that in the trash.
That one is as wide as my nose.
Yeah. That's like from 1854.
Yeah. I don't think I was aware of the thickness when I ordered it. So,
and they're very inflexible, and the thin ones, you go to the thin ones, man, I'm telling you, it's life changing. Yeah. They're even showing HDMI cables that run over fiber optics, so you get that really thin.
Actually, I think this one said it's fiber optic, the one that I ordered, which I was kind of surprised. I said, really? Okay. Yeah, I'm
And
going to look at that now. Let's see. And ultra slim Ethernet cable. I actually looked at the gauge of it, and then this HDMI cable. I guess I haven't looked yet how I do a screen share on this system. I'm looking for that. Down at the bottom, probably stock cam presence. I'm not seeing where I do a screen share. 3-dot menu. Stock
is it under present, maybe?
present. That makes sense. Present video file at share screen. Okay, we'll do share screen. And then this Amazon page there. This should be showing it now. So this 35 foot for this HDMI cable, not
We're not
30
seeing
foot.
it. We're not.
Oh,
Oh,
you're
I
not?
see. I have to select it. Okay, there we go.
Okay, 30 foot, not 35 foot for this one. And this is ultra thin, long HDMI to HDMI cable, flexible HDMI. I thought this was the one that said fiber. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was looking somewhere else.
I'm still trying to figure out StreamYard. I was trying to put you next to that. What happens if I hit this button? Oh, there we go. Puts us on the bottom.
Flexible cord support. Let's try, if I do Control F for optic, 14 hits on optic. Those are showing other HDMI cables that have the word optic. I'm not certain if the one I ordered has that or not.
Well, here's what interests me about the optic ones is our good friend Mitch Morrison. He has a home theater. In his home theater, he has a projector and couch viewing screen. And when the construction people ran his HDMI cable, I'm trying to remember how they did it. He wanted a 1-inch conduit, and they gave him like a 1/2 inch.
Oh.
And now he can't replace the HDMI cable. I don't know how they got it in there now that I'm saying it out loud, but he's kind of stuck with the one he's got. If he wants to go to 4K, what's he going to do? And I'm like, well, there are some wireless options, but now if you can actually just run an optical cable through that conduit and put the ends on it manually, or just take one end off, let's say, add the USB, the HDMI end to the cable, then you can feed it through the conduit, and then attach the end to it, and then it's back in business, which I don't know if these optical cables that you can put the ends onto to terminate them, or if they're already just pre-made. So I just saw something about that today, which brought it up, or it was on my mind. But no, you're going to love those HDMI cables regardless. Those are what I use. They're a little more like, here's the Ethernet cable here, super flexible, really easy. But on the HDMIs, I'm constantly plugging and unplugging. And I've broken quite a few of them, but they're like $8 to buy a new one. And they usually last me about 18 months, especially if I'm running it across the floor and I'm stepping on it. I found I'll split the sleeve on it. And then if I notice that before any problems occur, I just throw it away before problems occur and just replace it for $8. It's like no big deal.
Yeah.
But they're not really meant to be constantly plugged and unplugged. They're a little more fragile. That being said, they're also very inexpensive. So, but it sounds like when you're working, let me ask you this, when you're working on your bench that's behind you, you're plugging into a separate monitor with a separate keyboard and a separate mouse.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what if, I'm just asking, what if you could plug a little box in to let's say this is the computer you want to work on, and you just plug a little box into this, no software, and then use the computer you're sitting at right now. Open your browser and go to the IP address of the box that's on your local network only. And now you have that monitor on the workbench with full control of the keyboard and mouse, BIOS, everything in a browser tab on your workstation. Would you prefer that?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I like having the different monitors all full-time dedicated, because that means I can do whatever other work that I want to do, and it's just a glance over there, and I don't have to switch display.
Cool.
And in response to something that you've been working with those KVMs, my implementation of that is, I think you can, let's see. Oh, I got to turn this camera a little bit for you to see that. This is one of my security cameras right here. So I can just pull up on my cell phone my security camera image and see what's going on the screens on the monitor. I can do it that way. I can use my laptop computer connecting through my remote software to any of the computers in here to be able to monitor what's going on and control keyboard and mouse from that remote location. And then when I walk into here, I just instantly can see what's going on the monitor and interact with the keyboard and mouse. So I am less interested now than originally for the KVM over IP switches, and occasions to need to access BIOS on computers in my client's office. I can get anywhere in Fresno in 15 minutes. So no, I'm not needing that either.
Well, look, not every tool's for every yeah. That's interesting to me, because it's like a lifesaver for me. And
Phoenix, sure.
Well, but it's just, forget, I'm not putting it at clients. I'm just using it here between two floors.
Oh, yeah, there too.
Like last night, I updated I have 4 of these little mini PCs that have been sitting on a shelf, and I haven't turned them on. And it's a pain in the butt to get all the updates for the last year that they've been sitting. Plus, they've had BIOS updates, and I don't want to keep coming downstairs and checking on the status. And now, now I'm going to do a disk cleanup, and that's going to take 20 minutes. And these are older machines. They're not quite as fast. So by hooking that up, I just stay upstairs. And when I'm done, I tell the machine to shut off. So when I come back downstairs, I just unplug it, plug the next one in, and go back upstairs.
Okay. Now, why do you prefer to do that rather than using instant house call?
Because I cannot get into the BIOS, and I have to install software. So let's say this is your computer, this yellow one. I'm building this for you. I don't want anything of mine. I don't want a Microsoft login. I don't want any files or applications installed on there. I want a clean computer, just like you'd buy it from Dell or HP, professionally. I don't want anything left over in the registry from tools I've used and unplugged. I don't want remote software I have to uninstall that leaves behind remnants like in the user folder. I want it clean. So I can, if I set it on the bench and work on it, right? I've got keyboard, mouse, and monitor, as long as I'm here local. But that means I have to traipse up and down the stairs. Carey, you're looking fit. Watch how fat I'm going to get now. To just check on it. Is it ready for a reboot? What's it doing? I don't know. The monitor's facing the wall. The stairs are the other way. I got to walk all the way around to see what's going on the screen. So I did what you did. I put an IP camera right here, right on my desk, and pointed it at the screen so I can bring up my phone and go, wonder how that computer's doing. Oh, it needs a reboot. No, I don't mind coming down the stairs to hit the reboot. Then I have to just sit here and wait for the desktop. So if it's a Windows 24 H2 upgrade, I might be waiting for a while and then do the next thing and then go back upstairs. I can do all of that from upstairs, everything. I can see it booting. I can update the BIOS. I can get into the BIOS and change settings as if I'm sitting right here, but I'm doing it upstairs. In fact, I can even do it on my phone, although moving around a 1080 screen on a little tiny, that's challenging, but I can do it with no software install. Just going to a website, and the website is that little KVM. And it gives me 100%, just get the word remote out of your head. All I'm doing is I have a long extension essentially over the network that is the keyboard, mouse, and monitor. It's just like having a really long extension cord, but it's in a browser window and it doesn't require software.
Yeah.
Can't tell me that's not cool.
Well, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. However, my answer to that is every computer that I prepare for a computer goes out of here with an icon on the desktop called Doug Betts Remote, where they can initiate a remote connection. So because that's it, they at least have that. They may also have unattended remote connection depending upon my relationship with the client. That is routine every time. So it's going to go out with that. So it's got that to begin with.
The clients that I have that are managed, that I'm doing managed services for, yes. But that's not the majority of my clients. The majority of my clients are onesie, twosie sales. I sell it to somebody, I never hear from them again, or I don't hear from them for years. And when they call me, because it's instant house call, we install it with their consent at that time. I don't want them accusing me, not that it's ever happened, of putting some software on that they claim they didn't give me permission for, that gives me access to their computer. Even though it may not be unattended, they don't know, right? They just go, hey, that's not cool. I don't like that you did that. So they have to ask me for that.
Yeah.
Or I have to be getting paid for that. But we're all on the same page. So that's the logic.
And when it's a one-off client or a client I don't have a relationship with that already knows about the remote connection stuff, I have that conversation with them. When I deliver the computer to them, I show them the icon on the desktop and explain to them how it works, and explain to them when, in the occasions where they have authorized the unattended access, I explain how that operates, particularly emphasizing that when I disconnect from their computer, it leaves a message on their screen, prominent on their screen, that I was connected, even if they've restarted the computer subsequently. It doesn't go away until they dismiss it. So I'm pointing out to them that I cannot connect to your computer remotely without you knowing about it, so that they have that comfort level for those who care about that. And mostly they don't.
Right. But I still, because instant house call is so easy to put on as needed,
Yeah.
I just figure I'll wait till it's needed.
Sure.
But if it's already in the understood that myself and the customer have an ongoing maintenance contract, then I'm putting it on for me, not for them. Well, it's part of our deal. So let me ask you this, since this is a great opportunity for us to share different perspectives. I don't want to squander the time here with this other stuff. I want your opinion, your take on some of the very same things that we just talked with Scott, Ask Your Computer Guy.
Okay.
Somebody came into the chat room, so here we go. They said, what do you think about installing Chrome OS Flex on machines that have Windows 10 when Windows 10 expires? Would you do that? Or what would you do for those clients who don't want to go to Windows 11?
Promo S Flex, what is that?
I guess it's like Chrome OS.
Oh, Chrome. Oh, sure, I know Chrome. I have acquired, sold probably 3, maybe 4 Chrome OS computers to clients. They're one-off, they're home users. We had conversations about it. I wasn't installing it on a computer that wasn't able to do Windows. Our reasons for doing the Chrome OS were other. So now really the question is if somebody's got a computer that they don't want to replace and they want some other operating system, and they're going to be paying me for my services. I have not come across that. And I think probably the way the conversation is going to go is I'm going to talk them into an inexpensive $100 to $200 computer to replace whatever they have. So it is Windows 11 compliant. Chrome OS, probably not. If they're already accustomed to Windows 10, to downshift to Chrome OS, the only way that would be tolerable is if the only thing they do is web browsing content, which that is the case in the ones that I have helped them get that. Now, when I helped them into a Chrome operating system, that was before this influx of very inexpensive mini computers and laptops that we have now. So those would be different today. One of my brothers is one who has a Chrome OS operating system, and the only time he uses it is to connect with our Friday evening Zoom sessions. That's all he uses that computer for. So we did a Chrome OS. In hindsight, I don't like it. And it's just still not performing well enough for Zoom. Now, have I answered the question? If they want to install Chrome OS on an existing Windows 10 computer, first of all, the money that I'm going to be charging them to do that is going to be almost the price of an inexpensive computer to begin with. I would be very reluctant. I would be trying to talk them out of that.
How do you handle when I'm gonna play customer and you play tech?
Okay.
Well, you're not playing tech, but I'm gonna play because you are tech. Customer calls. Hey, Doug, I've got this computer and I keep seeing everything in the news. It says Windows 10 is expiring soon. There's nothing wrong with my computer. Can I just keep using it? I mean, do I have to do anything? I like everything the way it's set up. I don't want to reinstall. Maybe I don't even have the programs anymore. What do you recommend I do?
Okay. Well, I have an alternative solution if they don't, if they have programs they really, really want that we don't have a way to reinstall. But before going down that road, it's okay to keep using Windows 10 as long as you're not logging into any accounts that have any affiliation with your email address. And as long as you're not clicking any links and any emails that you get that you're accessing through a web browser on that computer, as long as you're willing to put whatever accounts you do have, even if you're not accessing them on that computer, if you have accounts with your bank or accounts with any websites that you've ever entered a credit card information, if you're willing for those accounts to be taken over by criminal intent, then that would be okay. If you're willing to also suffer the possibility of identity theft, and then the criminals start opening accounts in your name and damage your credit, if you feel you know your way around that arena so that you could recover from that, okay, then you may be okay with it. So basically what I'm doing is painting a rather scary scenario. Now, I have not addressed what if they have programs on there that they can't get. I'll wait for that to see if you have follow-up questions about what I've said so far.
Well, you know, I'm always going to have follow-up questions. But so as a customer, and I'm not sure what's really behind it, but there's this e-waste mentality that Microsoft is forcing me to upgrade a perfectly good working computer that I know I can bypass the requirements for Windows 11. So clearly they're arbitrary and not necessary if I can bypass them and still get updates. Or why can't we all just run Windows 10 LTSC or Windows 11, you know, the long-term service contract that gets no feature updates and minimal security updates for big corporations? Shouldn't I as a consumer, don't we all as consumers deserve that instead? And then of course, it's not intended for consumer use, though you can go to websites and legitimately buy a license for it. If a customer asked you this, Doug, I have Windows 10 or 11, and I want LTSC, or I've got LTSC, will you sell it to me and will you maintain it?
I have LTSC. You mean the $30 for the first year? Is that what you're talking about?
No, so just for everybody's knowledge, when Microsoft makes a version of Windows That is the long-term service contract that is for corporations who
Right.
don't want all the features. They don't want, all they want are security updates and nothing but that. So there's no, their IT department controls everything else, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to get new features. All you're getting is just the basic Windows with nothing but important security updates. And it usually is serviceable for a much longer period of time in that regard. But there's no new features are going to be added. No existing features are going to be fixed. It's just bare necessity security updates only, intended for corporations, not for home users. But with the internet and everything, home users can go onto websites that sell these keys and legitimately purchase one and install it.
Oh, okay. I'm with you now. I'm aware of the LTSC now. That, and also to clarify for everybody, this is not the where you pay the extra amount for the first year. I think it was $30 to get security updates. This is a different animal. This is a long-term servicing contract that was intended for corporations, where they have their IT department has checked out a certain version of the Windows 10 operating system against all of their other software, and this is working, and they want to stay at that level. They never want feature updates because that might cause them some troubles with the other software that they want. So now an individual being able to go to a website and be able to kind of tag on to one of these LTSCs. So they're asking to do that.
Would you provide it to them, or would you provide service to them?
Well, I'll provide service to anybody for anything. I never do it on a contract. So it is fee for services. And I have had this validated in courtrooms for me when I'm charging for services rendered with no contract, that I'm charging for the service that I did. My invoice says very specifically what I did. I make no representations about how safe or secure that is. So yeah, I'll provide them support, but I'll have a conversation about them, trying to get them to go to a more standard method. Now, I've never had anybody approach a conversation to that level. I think if I did, I would be seeking, why do you want this? It's highly unlikely somebody in that scenario would be talking to me in the first place.
It only happens on the internet, man.
Oh,
I've never had
well,
anybody outside of the internet bring this up. See, Mr.
Oh.
Sam there in the chat says the latest Windows 10 based LTSC is from 2021 and it will expire in 2032. So people go online and they see this and they go, well, then why do I have to upgrade to Windows 11? But they don't understand there's an IT department that maintains, that's doing their own thing. They're not just relying on Microsoft, whereas home users are. Jennifer.
Okay, so here's a better answer to that, is if they were to ask me that and they're asking, would I support it? Well, yeah, at my normal support rate, and I can't give you any representations about how that's going to work out, how many things are going to happen, because you're not doing the same things with your computer that those corporations are doing with their computers. They have very limited use. Their employees can only use the software that the IT department has installed. And in probably all of the cases, they don't have admin rights on their computer. So the chances of you running into a problem by having that limited version of Windows 10 is higher. I don't have any experience with it. I don't have any background with it. Yeah, I'll help you with it. I'm going to charge you for my time involved, and I can't make any representations to you about how much you need, how much help you're going to need from me.
Okay. So LTSC, the long-term service contract, just to be clear, that is an entirely different version of Windows 10 than what the consumer gets. All right. That's not Home or Pro. This is Pro LTSC. It's a sub option.
Subset?
Yeah, it's a subset of Windows 11 Pro that doesn't, it's been neutered. Okay, let's just say that. And then what you're also, the confusion was the Microsoft Extended Updates, MSU, Microsoft, what's it called? Microsoft Extended Security. So it's called ESU, extended security updates, are not available yet and have never existed before, to the best of my knowledge, for consumers, that Microsoft is saying they're going to offer for $30 to Windows 10 consumers for 12 months of updates. But Microsoft is also saying, as Scott has pointed out here in the chat room, Ask Your Computer Guy, that you will still get the Microsoft antivirus updates after Windows 10 support ends. You just won't get any more Windows 10 updates. So, there's all kinds of ways people get into computers, not necessarily just through viruses, but through loopholes in existing services. Like if you were to look at the services running on your computer right now, you'll see tons of them. And these security updates quite often patch those security services that are, or services that are running that have potential security exploits that allow hackers access into your machine. There's stories of people getting into a refrigerator that's online and using that as a means to get into the network that the refrigerator is connected to, and then gaining control of the network. That's why we have a separate guest network or IoT network to keep that from happening and isolating. So these security updates for services are the part people can't seem to get through their head, in my opinion, that they don't understand. Well, as long as I have a good antivirus, what difference does it make if I'm getting security updates? How do you answer that?
As long as I have an antivirus.
Yeah, I've got an antivirus.
Well,
Isn't that protecting me?
Antivirus, if you read the fine print, I think on all antivirus, you're going to find that they are dependent upon you being up to date with a supported operating system. I haven't gone to go look at all of them, but I'm pretty sure it's likely that they have that verbiage in their fine print that in order for them to properly protect you, you have to be using a currently supported and properly up-to-date operating system. So,
you see the chat on the bottom of the screen there?
Oh, what is a more viable option for someone with a well-working Windows 10 PC that can't be upgraded to Windows 11? More viable option with a well-working, more viable option is replace the computer. That if you want a less viable option, there are certain scenarios where I am possibly going to be forcing Windows 11 on computers that are not Windows 11 compliant. Now, those are very specific scenarios that I haven't elaborated on yet. And then let's see. My first choice is replace the computer. Second choice is to force Windows 11 on it. And there's also certain scenarios with certain clients that we're going to continue with Windows 10 on their computers that are not Windows 11 compliant. Now that I've said those two comments that are inflammatory, or they're going to cause people to say, wait, no, you can't do that. Those are in environments of clients who are actively in the process of shutting down their businesses, but they're not going to be completely shut down by October. They will most likely be fully shut down within a few months into 2026 is the next year. I still can't get over that we're in 2025. That year was never supposed to come.
That's not what bothers me, but I don't want to change the subject here. So let's stay on it, because that's a squirrel thing right there.
All right. So those are the places. In both of those, well, there's two clients that jump out on top that I've had this conversation with them. They are starting to cut down on their costs on me, although they both can afford me for what is really needed. But they have addressed this with me that I'm starting to try to reduce costs as I'm preparing for retirement or closing the business, whichever it is. And they specifically said, I don't want to replace these computers if I can at all get away with it. Now, in one of those cases, those computers don't do any web browsing. They only use the medical software for a chiropractor's office in the treatment rooms. Now, I may look to do some other protections for those outside of that, but and I still might twist their arms into replacing the computers. We haven't fully gone down that road yet, but there are two clients specifically that I'm thinking of where we're going to be doing something alternative. Let's see, did I cover everything?
I'm just looking here. It looks like we received an Amazon gift card from Thomas MacT. He says, great live streams with guests. Try a few at a time, 3 to 5.
I don't know.
You know what? I have sent an open invite to Scott Merrill, Ask Your Computer Guy, as well as Mike's Unboxing Reviews. And they can pop in anytime during the live stream. We can have up to 10 guests here. So they've got the invite, but I'm not twisting their arm. And I also don't want to step on your toes either. But I thought during an introduction, we'll bring a guest on without interruption. But once a guest has been introduced and we're all sort of finding a groove, a surprise cameo from somebody that I think would always be welcome. And if they just want to pop in and say hello, or they even want to stick around, I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think in particular, if they were prepared and ready to click in to respond to something we're talking about at the time, that they have a different take on it, I could easily see myself be willing to do that when you're interviewing somebody else. And I would just pop in for that little conversation and then step out and let you continue on. Because the thing that occurs to me is that if we had like 4 of us in at the same time.
Not like a Zoom. Yeah, not like a Zoom.
Yeah, that's just a lot.
But I would control, just as I could I could put you there, and I can still see them connected. I don't know that you can you see me right now?
I cannot.
Okay, so I'm the control booth, so I can see all the inputs and I can select all and so can Mara. She can do that as well, because I've got her set up as the, control booth operator. And we can go side by side, or we can go, with, multiple guests, where it may be we put all 3 of us on momentarily. But that way they can instantly, the sort of, what StreamYard calls it is putting you on stage.
Yeah.
Right. So now you're on stage. Now I'm on stage. And now Mike could be there in, we call it the green room. So could Scott. And then if they have something to say, or when they have something to say, we switch over. And if you two start talking, I can take me out and just put you two side by side. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, actually, I do. I like that now that you've kind of talked that through, how that would work. It would
not like a Zoom where you have everybody on screen all the time.
Yeah. Now they would actually all have hot microphones unless they mute themselves. Unless you mute
only
them.
When I put them on. No,
because when you have me on screen, your microphone's still hot.
True, but if I do this,
right,
and I can just do that.
Right.
And they can do that too. They can mute themselves when they're not on stage. See? Now we're reading lips. Hold on. Is this Morse? Is this, no, Braille?
I was faking that. I was faking that for the people who didn't realize.
You were faking? I was
faking.
Lip syncing?
I did not mute. I was just lip syncing.
I'm just a troublemaker.
I think I'm really attracted to what you're describing now.
All right. Yeah. I just needed to explain it better. StreamYard gives us, look, I've paid for a year of StreamYard. All right. This is like a buffet. I don't go to buffets because I don't eat my money's worth. I feel like, the attitude is when I go to that buffet, they're going to be sorry they let me in. Well, I just paid for a year of StreamYard, which is like $465. I want to use the heck out of it. It's my buffet.
I like it. I like what you're describing there. Yeah.
Well, and then the invitation will be open to you as well when we have other folks on, and I'll send you the invite and just say, look, if you feel like joining us, here's the link, right? And then you have that option. You can choose to, choose not to. You can choose to say, hey, I'm just popping in to say hello. Or you can say, hey, you mind if I hang out? Yeah, please hang out. And that's the same thing I want to do for the same offer to Mike's Unboxing and to Scott Ask Your Computer Guy. And who knows if we can find other folks that have this similar background that we share as content creators and techs. I would love to get all those differences of opinion and even cultural differences, with Mike being in the UK, Scott's from down south, you know, and that's where we had the pecan.
Right.
Let me ask you.
Hey, actually, I looked up that Splat.
Splat, yes, there's the
And
name.
actually, that the AI that I checked with came up with a different explanation that kind of differed. Now I'm looking for that chat conversation here. Exported that nicknames. Yeah, here it is. It Copilot named that that chat nicknames for punctuation. And let's go share this screen. I've got to go to stop screen and then present to share screen, and then where is it?
Yeah, StreamYard usually gets it's a little used to get down at the bottom of the screen. You should see present.
I got present and it's showing me, but I'm just going to instead, that was Chrome tab. That's why I wasn't seeing what I needed. Okay, so here I want to go to window. It has the Copilot window. Splat is the asterisk key, but Scott was using Splat for the exclamation mark in Device Manager. And bang is the exclamation mark, goes back to the 1950s. You're absolutely right. The terms Splat for the asterisk, bang for the exclamation mark, and fascinating oranges. These nicknames were popularized in the mid-20th century, particularly in the printing and typesetting industries, where shorthand terms were essential for efficiency. Later, they were adopted by early computer programmers and hackers who appreciated their brevity and distinctness. The exclamation mark, bang, was often used in comics to emphasize loud sounds like gunshots or crashes, which might have influenced its nickname. Meanwhile, Splat for the asterisk likely came from its visual resemblance to a splatter mark.
That makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. Now, I also asked, let's see, what are other nicknames? Skip that. So then I asked, I misspelled it here, is spat a Southern U.S. slang? And so then I corrected, is splat a Southern U.S. slang? And Copilot, understand that Copilot is not from the South, claims.
Where is it from?
The term splat doesn't appear to be specifically Southern U.S. slang. It's more commonly used to describe a sound or visual effect, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, well.
So anyway, it has a different take on that.
Well, Scott even said he said it's a Southern thing. AI can't understand the way we speak down here.
Right. So I would say Scott takes priority over Copilot, because I've proven Copilot to be wrong so many times.
It's getting better. You know, we'll try it again next year. It'll be a whole different personality.
You know, all of the AIs, I find that they are helpful to form ideas and concepts, and they often point me in the right direction. But it's a trust but verify thing. Yes. And I'll go back and ask it, hey, are you sure about that? And then it looks deeper and it says, oh, sorry for the misunderstanding, and very politely apologizes for its errors.
Yeah, I find it's a great thing for like ideas. It's a great sort of spark or catalyst, but it's not complete. Mara has used DeepSeek to ask for recipes being, low carb. And she's been quite impressed with the results. And I go, yeah, but that's a Chinese thing. It's spying on you. And she's like, they can have my recipes. I don't care. Like she's very impressed with the recipe suggestions when she says she gets an idea for a meal. How could I put that meal together using low carb, no sugar? And it oftentimes, needs very little adjustment from what it's suggesting. Like usually, as you mentioned, other AIs would give her some ideas, but she'd have to modify them. And with DeepSeek, her results, according to her, are still require a tiny bit, but not as much modification, and some no modification at all. So she absolutely loves DeepSeek for that reason.
Yeah, I've done with Copilot. I said I got this list of ingredients. What can I do with it? And I've been pleased with what it.
Just see what you got left in the
ideas that it
refrigerator.
had. Yeah, that's literally what I was doing.
Can I correct that a little bit?
You want to correct me? You want to come on camera and correct it, or are you going to
No,
stand
that's
up?
fine. So with DeepSeek, what I started to practice with when I was writing the book is recipe calculations, because I wanted to include the nutrition information in all of my recipes, and putting it together is a very long, time-consuming process. So I started playing with DeepSeek to see what it would do with the recipes for those that I had the calculations that I manually had already done. I threw those into DeepSeek to see what it would do with it, and all of the ones I tested came back 100% accurate. So
But you were also using it for recipes.
And then, well, as time went on, then so some of the recipes that I already have, what I was curious about was to see what difference or improvements it might be able to make to something I had already put together. So I started playing with that. So as time went on, I love DeepSeek. I think it's a lot of fun. It can come up with interesting ideas. Always, 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 never, never, never rely on AI for a final answer to anything. Always double check your answers. Always make sure what you're getting is accurate. But it's fun to play with. If you're looking for some general summary of something, if you're looking to write an email or write a document of some type, you can ask something like DeepSeek to kind of put that together for you. But always, always, always double check it, and always make sure that what you're getting is 100% accurate, because again, it's AI, it's pulling from various sources from where it learned, wherever its information is coming from. So you got to make sure. But yeah, I still have a lot of fun with it. To this day, I like to say, all right, write me, write me a response to some stupid scammer, right? Not necessarily stupid, but we get a lot of emails, and some of them are just crap. So for fun, I'll say, write me a humorous response to an email regarding XXX, and because then the facts don't really matter. Is it humorous? Does it make me laugh? That's all I care about. So, but for stuff like that, yeah.
For fun, yeah.
But don't use it for very serious things that, like, if you're a lawyer, don't use it. That kind of stuff.
Lawyers keep getting caught up with filing things using AI, and
right.
The courts are, they're not happy with it.
Or doctors, for their education, you could probably get some idea of something that's going on, but you always want to fact check, make sure the information is accurate, and make sure what you're getting is 100% real, because it's pulling from various sources. So who knows where it's actually spitting out the information. And
try different AIs. There's ChatGPT, there's Gemini, there's DeepSeek, there's...
DeepSeek is free. That's why I use it.
They're all levels of free. And Twitter's got Grok. There's also...
there's a few of them.
There's so many right now.
Yeah, I just like DeepSeek because it's fun, it's easy, and it's a tool, and I like to play with it. So yeah.
Well, thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I want to tag off of what Mara said there. I used it in my meeting with my doctor today. What I did is I took the results of my lab tests. I just did a screenshot into Copilot, and it read everything about all my different tests, and it gave its thoughts about it. And then at the end of that, I said, okay, now formulate some questions that I should ask my doctor in relation to these tests. It came up with, I think, 9 different very on point questions. And when I sent that to my doctor, explaining it came from an AI, and that I trust you, my doctor, to identify what is worth us talking about or not. So I explained to her, these questions are not actually directly from me, even though they're worded that way. And she really liked it. It gave us a very, very productive meeting today.
I haven't dived that deep into using an AI. You use it way more than I do, but it's coming. I know I'm going to be relying on it more and more. You know, I had a flip phone till the very last moment when everybody else was using smartphones, and it'll be the same with me. It's just not a go-to for me. But that being said, I just want to say thank you to Peter with a $1 super chat there, joining us. Sorry, €1 joining us from the Netherlands, and also Chevy with a $10 super chat. It says, "Splish splash, I was taking a bath." I think that's a Splat reference, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe. Scott has a question directed to me. Oh, yeah, he just brought it up on screen. It took me a second and slightly over a second to understand what he was asking about the L word. And obviously that's Linux, and I will just say it.
That's the L word.
That's the L word, Linux, I'm sure, since you guys did talk about that on Tuesday. I have configured Linux on a computer as part of my show at the guidance of the chat room as far as how to do it.
Which version?
Oh, geez, what did
Mint?
we use? I probably Mint. I'm not sure.
Ubuntu.
It could have been Ubuntu, and I also did it through a virtual computer,
Virtual machine.
Virtual machine, yeah. I just don't have. It doesn't solve any pain point for me anywhere. Not among my clients. Not for me. The people who use Linux, I think they need to be personally aware of what needs to be done with it. Because when the chat room walked me through doing it, you got to download this and then download this. And oh, if you want to do this, you got to install this other piece. And I just found there was several things to it that it would have taken me a long time to figure that out if they weren't walking me through it. In the business that I'm in, I charge people for my time, and the low cost of these computers these days, I just cannot see me putting Linux on any computer due to a budgetary issue. And I don't want to, if a client wanted to have a Linux box in their office and they want me to support it, would I do that? Yes. However, we would have that conversation, and the content of that conversation is, I'm not familiar with it. I'm not an expert in it. There are other people who could be a lot better for supporting you with it. But if you want me to do that, and oftentimes they do, I'm going to be charging you for the time that it takes me to do that.
Yeah.
So they may be just spending themselves into a oblivion by doing that. But I've taken that approach to supporting their IP phones, their IP cameras, their copy machines. We've got a copy machine right now that's out of support. They can't buy parts for it. So they're paying me quite a lot to try to keep that thing going. That's in an office that's closing down. So they don't want to do a new lease. So there are many Apple computers. There are many places where my clients have asked me, can you deal with this for us? Can you take care of this? They're time clocks, wall-mounted tablet time clocks. Lots of things that I'm willing to do as long as they're willing to pay me for my professional attitude in an area that I'm not acquainted with, knowing that they're going to be paying for my time learning how to do it. And many of them have said yes.
Here's a YouTube channel. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. He's in New Zealand, and he does these little comedy skit type videos. And let me bring up the page here. It's just going to get a little convoluted for me to do this, but I'm going to go to screen share, and then I'm going to jump up here. And Sam Time makes these great videos. They are hilarious. And if you watch these, you see they're not very long, about 10 minutes, 12 minutes long. about his process of switching to Linux. And he's been making videos a very long time. You can actually see him aging just between these two videos. He posts content regularly, and he is hilarious. And he'll say, this is why Mac is superior to Windows, but then he'll also make another one why Windows is superior to Mac. This is why Android is superior to iOS. This is why iOS is superior to Android. So he'll take both sides, but separate videos. So you can watch what you want to watch there. But that guy is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And if you have a cat, he has his cat in the videos. So he's got the Kitty, the cat assistant, and Kitty 2.0, which is just a lot of fun. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, a shout out to Sam Time out there in New Zealand. And then let me jump back over to, hold on a minute, everything's so confusing. I'm going to jump back over here. There, that should put me back. Okay. So yeah, StreamYard, haven't perfected the whole video switching thing, but the more we do this, I'll get better at it. Ask Your Computer Guy, Scott, he says, your comments on Linux are very well said. I tend to be a bit more, if I don't feel like I'm going to do a good job, I don't want to do the job. One of the lessons that I learned was I have a friend of mine that was doing construction, home renovation. And we were going somewhere, and he said, do you mind if I stop by this client's office? They want me to look at a potential project. And I said, go ahead. I sat in the car and waited. He said, I'll be 5 minutes. Goes in, comes out, and I said, how'd it go? And he goes, yeah, I'm not going to do the work. I go, what happened? He goes, well, they cut a hole in the wall because they wanted like a pass-through. And all they want me to do is they just want me to more or less cut corners on it. They wanted to do it cheap. They don't want to do it right, and it's going to look like crap. So I said, no, if I can't do this to make it look nice, I don't want to do it. And I said, well, isn't a job a job? When you're charging your hourly rate, what difference does it make? He goes, I'm going to tell you. And this guy's from Boston, so he's got this, back east attitude. He goes, someone's going to come in here and say, who did this work? And they'll say, oh, it was John. Whew. Well, John sucks at whatever. This is what John does for you. I know not to hire John. He's saying that's a representation of my work, and I don't want that. I won't do it. It's an interesting thought. So I've kind of shared that in that attitude in regard to, I'm not going to do something because a customer wants me to do it. If I go to a doctor and I say, I want you to prescribe this medication to me, and the doctor says, well, okay, it's not usually how that works. There's usually liability and other concerns where it may not be appropriate, or the doctor may not want to. You could go see another doctor if you want to get that medicine. You ain't getting it from me. That's more of what I'm trying to protect, is if I'm going to do a job and I am not 100% confident in myself to do that job to the level that I insist on myself, I would rather not do the work than potentially have an upset customer.
I understand the reasoning, but I have not ever encountered that with any of the jobs outside my expertise that I've taken on. One, because nobody coming in to see anything that I worked on, it's not a physical thing that you can see like a hole in repairing a hole in a wall would be. That's one element. The second element, my customers are always satisfied and pleased with what I've done, even if it has cost them a lot of money. Because by the time they ask me to do something, they are already at their wits' end with frustration and stress over the provider who was supposed to be meeting their needs, and they're not doing it. And the only times that I am asked to do that kind of work is when it is something that it is with a client that I already have a relationship with. And usually I'm already aware of the level of frustration and stress that they have over the situation. Now, if somebody called me out of the blue that I don't already know, and they're asking me to do something like that, I'll turn that down. And another thing that I turn down is I don't provide estimates. Somebody costs, how much would it cost for you to do such and such? I do not give estimates because there are too many things that can foul up that amount of time. I tell them that I charge from the time that I start the job to the time that I end. Now, when somebody is a new client and I'm telling them that, and they ask, how do we get started with you? Do you need to come in and do an inventory of all our stuff? I say, no, you call me when you have something that needs to be fixed. I'll come in and fix it. I'll charge you for that time. If you don't think that I've done work that you're happy with, don't pay the bill. I'm not going to come after you for that bill. And then just don't ask me to do any more work for you. That I don't know that they have ever taken me up on that. I have had times when they haven't paid my bill, but that's not been because they weren't happy with the work. That's been because they were flakes. So yeah, if my current long-term clients, if they ask how much would it cost to do such and such, I might give them some ballpark figure, but and say it's likely going to be within that range, but I can't say that for sure. I'm very, very rarely ever asked that kind of question because they know my invoices. They know when they get an invoice from me, it's going to have a lot of detail about what I've done. A lot of detail from their perspective. It's not a lot from my perspective. It doesn't take me very much time to type up my time slips at all. I didn't read that last message you had up.
Oh, you didn't see it?
Yeah, I saw it, but I didn't read it. Carey Holzman. Oh, who is he? Is he good? You going to bring him on?
My evil twin.
if it's fast and cheap, that's okay. I'm just making fun. Don't worry about that, Kate Cordius. If it's fast and cheap, it won't be good. If it's fast and cheap, it won't be good. If it's cheap and good, it won't be fast. If it's fast and good, okay, I get it. Three elements, and they're all trade-offs for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick two. Which ones do you care about? Or which one do you care about? Can it be fast and cheap and good? Well,
if it's on sale.
I feel like I might be able to make some cases for that.
It's a generalization.
Yeah. Fast and cheap. Yeah, actually, for the system that I have now for replacing Windows 10 computers with Windows 11 computers, it is turning out to be fast and cheap and good.
So far.
I think that is working. So yeah, so far. From the client's perspective, because they're used to paying a whole lot more. Now, there's one thing that I touched on earlier. Does anybody want me to elaborate on how to deal with a Windows 10 computer that has software on it? There's just no way available within reason to reinstall the software. Do you want to know how I'm going to be handling that?
Let me interrupt just for a moment and say thank you to Charlie Purdy for a $20 super chat. He says, great content. Thanks, guys. Also to Mark Gaines joining us from Northern Ireland with 10 pounds in super chat. Thank you, Mark, as always. And yes, I'm a viewer too. And I want to know, what would Doug do? That's going to be my thing. WWDO. What would WWDD? What would Doug do? So I have a solution, and I think you know what it is. So let's hear yours.
All right. First, I've got to say thank you to Chevy for a $10 super chat and Charlie Purdy for a $20 super chat. Those are on my channel. I think you were reading from your channel, weren't you?
Yeah, I can't read from your channel. I'm looking at a StreamYard feed here. So, if they did to both of us.
Oh, it might have come through. Yeah, because Chevy was a $10 on my channel. And Charlie was a $20 on my channel. I see Mark for $10 on your channel.
Hey,
so I guess through StreamYard, you can't tell where they're coming from. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, so the way that I'll be handling that is I will most likely with a B-Link computer export the drivers and then do an image backup from their computer, restore that image backup to the B-Link computer, then import the drivers. And likely it's going to work. And likely it's going to be pretty quick implementation.
So I take it from that you're a fan of the B-Link brand?
I'm a fan of the B-Link brand because when I went looking for mini computers on Amazon, the bulk of the choices that I found were B-Link in the N95 and N100 range when I started doing those. And it looked like those were going to be a lot of them. And I wanted to pick one and stick with it so that I can know those and have their drivers and have image backups that I can restore and import drivers very quickly and easily. So that's the only reason why I've kind of focused in on them. And I wouldn't say that I'm exclusive to them, but that's pretty much my go-to.
Scott, Ask Your Computer Guy, said, I would take the Windows 10 drive and clone it. Then take the clone and put it into the new Windows 11, well, the new system. So it wouldn't be a Windows 11 system. It would be a brand new system, clone the existing customer's Windows 10 with all their apps, put that clone into the new system, and if that boots, then do the update to Windows 11.
That's exactly what I was describing. I'm doing it by doing an image backup rather than a clone to another drive. So because the client's computer is at their location, so I'll connect remotely, do an image backup. I can download that image backup here to my computer here, restore it to the B-Link computer, import it, install the drivers through Device Manager, very quick and easy to do, and then upgrade it to Windows 11 in place upgrade. So it's the same solution. He's just describing it differently with cloning it.
Real world scenario. Customer says, Carey, I have this software. I don't know how I'm going to get it back again. It's really important to me. That's why I'm not upgrading or replacing the computer. And I said, unacceptable. If that software is that important to you, you need to have a copy of that software, just as you would have a copy of your data. You got that software from somewhere. So let's go through this together and figure out where you got it. Bring the software up. Let me see who makes it. Okay, let's go see if there's a website. There is. Let's go see if you can log into it and see your purchase history. You can. I don't know the password. Click forgot your password. Go through that. No big deal. You get the email, you reset the password. Hey, what do you know? Not only can you still download the software, there's an update for free that you've been missing out on this whole time that makes the software even better. So now, because of this problem, you've just taken an issue you didn't even know you were having, a completely free upgrade that makes the software better. Now we're going to download that software. We're going to take a copy of your product key or your activation key. We're going to open up Notepad and we're going to call that serial.txt. We're going to make a folder on your backup drive called programs or, software. And in there, we're going to make a folder called whatever this program name is. And in that folder, we put the installation file and your serial number text file. Now, if you ever need it in the future, you have it no matter what. And anytime you ever install anything new, wherever you're getting it from, it usually is your download folder. Take that download, make a subfolder, call it the name of the program, put the program installer in there, put your serial number in there, and we will never deal with this ever again. That anxiety goes away. And that's the way I prefer to do it.
Well, that's the same thing I described.
Well, no, you said it twice now.
No, it is. No, it is. And let me explain why. I started at the beginning of my description. If there is no reasonable way to find and install that software, what you just described is a reasonable way to find and install the software. So absolutely, I'm with you.
You covered all the bases, Doug. You are thorough.
I covered that in about 7 words. Those.
Yeah, and I should have paid more attention. I was just too ready for my reply to listen.
Yeah, you were thinking about how you're going to come back.
I was already, you were still talking and I was already, my brain was working.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. So you got both bases covered. And see
Sure.
here, Scott mentioned one approach. I mentioned one approach, and you mentioned both Scott and my approach.
Yeah.
Just not in that order.
Right. And worded differently. Yeah.
So, all right, listen, we're running a little bit long, but I certainly love having you here. You're welcome to stick around some more if you want.
No, I think it's about time for me to check out.
All right.
But I love doing this with you and all the participants in the chat room. Absolutely appreciate you every day for every video that you show up. It has become such a substantial part of my life and who I am to be involved with you all, and I appreciate the ability to do that so very, very much.
K Cordius Technology with a $10 super chat says, I like video forum loving the stream, Carey. Keep doing these videos. I like hearing other techs process of how they work. Trust me, I'm doing it for me. And I'm so glad that
Yeah.
you enjoy it too. And Scott asked your computer guy, said, you got to give Doug Betts a super chat. Oh, I'll talk to Doug after the show about that. And what does he say here? Although it's been 20 years, it's time to find another piece of software that does something. So yeah, that often can be the case as well. And it's usually much better software. People don't know what they don't know, right? If somebody sticks with something and you're like, my favorite example, I go to a customer's house and I need to go to their house because they don't have a car. I need to come to them. And while I'm there, I just happen to ask, how come you don't have a car? And they say, this literally was a conversation. I don't have a car because I don't go anywhere. And I said, no, I'm pretty sure you don't go anywhere because you don't own a car. I think if he had a car, he'd wonder how he ever lived without it. So when people, they're accustomed to having something a certain way, the fear is I'll never get this again or it won't be as good, when oftentimes it's easy to replace and it's better once you give it a shot. That's all I'm saying.
And that should be added to the response when somebody, if it's not reasonable to find a replacement, then do you really need it? Can we substitute with something else that is a currently supported product? And then if that doesn't work out, then do the image restore and drivers method. And that might not work because there's software from the Windows 10. By the time I get it to the B-Link computer under Windows 10, it might still work. But when I upgrade to Windows 11, it might not work. So we're going to have that conversation before we go down that road too.
Yeah,
One of my clients specifically was a elderly woman, wonderful person, very, very difficult in adopting change under Windows 7, had her genealogy software that she was using that she'd done a massive amount of work. It was no longer available. Well, there's other genealogy products where we have to be able to export the data and import into the other. There was problems with that. That was so many years ago. I don't quite remember what our end result was, but that was going from Windows 7 to Windows 10. But that was just an example. And where was I going with bringing up that subject? Yeah, there's certainly plenty of other current market genealogy programs, but it was a problem with her data. Now, sometimes exporting the data from an old program to a new program, if you haven't been using the data fields properly, that can interfere with the export and import. For instance, if somebody has been, for some reason, putting in content in a phone number field that is not a phone number, for some reason they decided to use that field for something else. When you go do an export and an import, you might run into problems with that kind of thing. So I've had that also with that kind of export and import problems with QuickBooks, where people using fields for things that they weren't intended. That can become a problem.
You brought up that whole genealogy. Look, we have a large retirement community in Arizona. And so Family Tree Maker, and it seems like the closer we get to death, the more interested we become in our family tree in our history. So, because I only mention this observation because I don't see a lot of young people that are interested. It seems like it's all older people that have the time, they're retired, they're at home, and they start investing hours and hours of research with, well, this was my ancestor and I found this photo and I put it in, and I've got, Carey, I can't replace this computer. I say, oh, I can move all that for you, no problem. Well, now Family Tree Maker becomes something else. I don't know. And now you have to import the data, and then they're retired. I don't want to spend the money. There's nothing wrong with what I have, and I don't want to lose all the time and investment that I put into this. So it's like, this really needs to be a website, in my opinion, which they do have, but I think you have to pay for it. And that way, all the research you're doing goes into a database that you can share with other family members or other people that can benefit from the work you did, instead of having it privately on your own computer, which is a selfish act, in my opinion. If you're interested in your family heritage and you've spent that time and that tree branches off like, crazy, imagine there's got to be other people somewhere in that whole tree that would benefit from all that work you did, and you may be on opposite sides of the world and have never met each other. Put it online, put it into the service. I'm always trying to find a better way and get people to let go of these older ways that they're like, oh, I don't want to have to learn it. It's like, it's such a minor, just give it a chance. And I think that's the other point you were making. You should go, well, look, this may not work, but let's try it. And if you don't like it, we can find something else, but try it first. That's all.
I just remembered what we did with the elderly woman and her genealogy. So we just bought another computer and we said, okay, you do this for all your web browsing. You use this old computer, keep using the old computer only for the genealogy program. No web browsing. That was our solution.
But the shame of it is all that time and effort. Where does that data go when that person passes? Does anybody else care in the family yet? Maybe they'll care in 20 years, but that's long gone.
Yeah, she was able to export those basically to a PDF document that she could send to somebody. So she would send the information that way. But, the people she sends to is not going to have the, database.
My customer, everything you're saying, it's almost like we had the same customer. He wanted a color printer. And yeah. All right. Well, we're going to have to pick this up another day because we also have some questions coming in now, but unfortunately we're just out of time for now. But
yeah, we are.
Doug and I were talking about doing this monthly, and we're going to try and stick to that schedule.
Alex Cheek, if you'll ask your question on my show, I will address that. I do have some thoughts for you.
Once again, Doug Betts, live Windows training with Doug Betts. He's live, 6 days a week?
Yeah.
And he's taking questions.
Unless it's not.
Unless it's not.
Six days a week, unless it's not. Usually, that's the objective.
And he takes questions just like we're doing now. So if you have questions specific for Doug, tomorrow morning, you'll have a show?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Tomorrow.
Your show starts at?
9 a.m. Pacific time.
And they run about?
Half an hour long on weekdays, except when it's not.
And on weekends?
2 hours, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific time.
That's Saturdays only?
Saturdays only. Yep.
Right on. We have a link to Doug's channel along with Scott Merrill, Ask Your Computer Guy, who is not doing live, but we're twisting his arm trying to convince him to go live. And then Mike's unboxing reviews and how-to. Also a shout out to our friend Begouten there at Acronis that's been hanging out with us today, and to everybody in the chat, all our friends in blue and green and other colors in there. Ask Your Computer Guy just sent a super chat from one creator to another, $9.99. I should be giving him the super chat. Thank you, Scott. And of course, Mara for doing all the work in the background, the thumbnail, Doug's critique of the thumbnail this morning on his show. He says that's not him.
Oh. Now I don't know if you noticed,
guy.
but I just did a copy and paste of the thumbnail that Mara created. I swiped it.
Of that old guy that's on there?
Both of them. Yeah.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Wait, is there a third person? Oh man, I get a little gray coming in. I'm just
Get
glad
off.
to have some at this point.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, keeping this ball. That's going to wrap it up for us for today. Thank you so much for hanging out. And we are going to be live tomorrow with a mini PC review, which you're going to have to tune in to find out. I'm actually trying to decide between two of them. And a shout out and a thank you, of course, to our good friend, Doug Betts, live Windows training with Doug Betts. We'll look forward to having him here on the show. And hopefully you tune in to his channel between now and then and get more good tech info. And feel free to ask questions. And they have an amazing community. Doug has an amazing community there as well, many of which overlap between us. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. We're not competitors. And yeah, share the love and finding other birds of a feather that share your interests in a kind and supportive community. You're going to find that on Scott's channel. You're going to find that on Doug's channel. You're going to find that on Mike's Unboxing channel. So check them all out. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. We want to remind you the discount on the SCD keys for Windows and Office license keys. 30% off the already low prices are in the video notes below the video. Again, I don't make commission off of that, so it's just out there to hopefully help you guys save some money. And remember that that little special that we've talked about on that external DVD reader writer. I cannot believe how cheap this stuff is becoming. That'll wrap it up for us today. We'll see you all again tomorrow at 1 o'clock Arizona time. Until next time, bye for now.